I'm back with round 2 of my Dewalt Quik Drive screw system. I loved it so much that after a full summer of use, I figured it's time for me to come back and tell you why you might want to pick one of these up. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. Back with another gear review for you. Real quick, of course. You want to know more about who I am? Quickest way, toolmantim.co. Run by there, find all the links and everything. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Unless something crazy comes out of left field, this is going to be my top tool purchase of 2022. I love it. I did a unboxing early review after I did my first deck. I've now built 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 decks in the neighborhood of 16 by 24 between my house and the daycare that my wife owns. And it has not let me down. Wow, do I love this thing. Love it so much, I had to talk about it again. So after a full summer of decking, I've put somewhere around 5 boxes of these plastic collated screws. This is all I have left at the moment through this. So well over 10,000 screws. Picked up a lot of tips, a couple little quibbles with it. And so I'm just going to share a bunch of different things I've learned that's made my process a little bit better. But when you load the screws in here like this, if you have it off at a 45-degree angle or perpendicular like this, you can use the screws as a straight edge to go along. So if you're screwing 5, 6, 8 boards in a row down, that gives you a nice straight edge that just sticks right out so that you can keep all your screws right in a row. No matter how hard you try, I love this thing. And you get going, you're like, all right, I'm going to be careful. I'm going to screw every single screw down. When you're done, there's always going to be a few that are popped up a little bit, just simply because this is such a powerful beast. And it spins down so fast, sometimes you don't realize it never even sunk into the wood. So what I do is when I'm done, I just walk around. When I first started, I used this, but it's a pain in the ass because you try to get that back into the screw that's already down there. So I just picked up a nice Torx bit for my impact driver and I walk around, zip, zip, zip. 16 by 24 deck in 10 minutes. I've walked around, checked all the heads, and the few that I left up, they're zipped down. When you're joining 2 deck boards together, at first, I wasn't comfortable using this. I was using my impact driver to butt join them together, but I was able to make it work. And now you just go in on an angle like that on a 45. Just don't press as hard. Because what I found was when I was pushing down really hard, it was splitting the ends of the boards. So if you just kind of feather up and leave a little bit of pressure off, it still sinks it in, but it doesn't go in so deep that it splits a 45-degree angle off the end of those butted boards. These, I mean, they're barely being held on by the plastic as it is. And that's on purpose so that they release from the clip completely. Something I learned really quick, don't leave these damn things in the direct sun. They don't melt, but they soften up to the point where they don't like to feed as much. Keep them in the shade because what I found was they would start getting a little wavy or they didn't want to feed quite right. Or this piece right here, the thinnest piece, would start acting up and get kind of twisted. So when you got your mag pouch over here, you're putting all your extra clips of screws. 4 or 5 seems to be the absolute maximum. I tried to stick to 2 or 3 because what ends up happening is they get tangled down in your pouch and then they end up biting your hands when you go to grab them out. And first time you go to use this beast, don't just take it with you to a job site and say, hey, I'm just going to put it together and I'm going to start using it. It's easy once you figure it out, but before that, give yourself a half hour to 45 minutes in your garage, in your backyard, playing with this thing. Learn how to put it together, learn how to take it apart, learn how to install the bit, learn how to remove the bit, learn how to load the screws. Be comfortable with it, because if you can do that in a low stress environment, way easier when it comes to being at a job site or a customer site or just being in a rush and wanting to get it to work. So give yourself a little bit of time. There's a bit of a learning curve, but once you know, you know. First thing I mentioned in the last video was this saved me almost a day of screwing. So it was great. So the occasional mishap that it causes was totally worth it. So there's 2 things that I found happened with misfeeding. And the first one, I'm not really sure why it happened, but so I'm going to show you. There's a point and there's a tail. So when you feed it in, you go up in there, make sure you put the point piece through. The first screw always fed perfectly. If it was going to jam, it almost always happens on the second screw. And I'm not sure what happens if it just doesn't grab a hold or there's not enough plastic in there. But what ends up happening is you have it fit through, the first screw drives perfect, and then about every third or fourth clip, the second screw misses and it slides back out a little bit. I got better at it. What I could end up doing was instead of picking it up, you could just tap it with your foot, pop it back into place. The other thing that would happen was, on occasion, if that got really, really hot, about halfway through the clip, one of the screws would twist and it would get jammed in the mechanism. Don't get mad, don't pull on it, just try to bring it back down, feed it back in, and you're good to go. What little bit of time I lost to jamming was more than negated by the fact that this saved me an entire day of being bent over, hunched down, sitting on my rump, screwing boards in. Screws are great, but they cost about twice as much as your standard loose or bulk deck screws at any one of your hardware stores. Also, for us Canadians, they take the Torx bits, not Robertson. That's blasphemy. No, it's not. These Torx bits are better than Robertson. There, I said it. I'm over it. I love them. If I could get loose deck screws in Torx, I would use them now. So make sure you have yourself some Torx bits. I didn't have any. The first time I went to do this job, had to go pick some up because it says do not run this in reverse. So if you ever have to back a screw out, you don't want to be doing it with this thing. There's a reason that they include a bit under a sticker on the underside of the cover of the boxes. They recommend that every new case of screws you put through it, you put a new bit in. The reason that is about halfway through the second box on the first bit, it starts wearing out and slipping. There's a lot of torque into this thing. They work great, but do yourself a favor and throw away or save it for practice, whatever, that little tiny bit from the first box when you're done with that box. Open the new box, take the new bit out, swap it out. You'll be a happier camper for it. These aren't stocked at every hardware store, especially up here in Canada. A lot of times they're special orders, so if I knew I had a job, I'd call Rona, my local hardware store, and say, hey, can you bring me in a couple of boxes? They keep them now, but just be aware that you may not be able to run to every single hardware store and buy these plastic collated. They are on Amazon, however, and I will throw the link in the description so you can pick them up. Was it worth it? Hell yeah, it was. I paid $500 Canadian for this entire set. It's a little cheaper in the States, quite a bit cheaper, but that comes with the collated running head, the extension shaft, the modified Dewalt drywall gun. This whole assembly here is made by Simpson Strong Tie quick drive system, and it came with two 5 amp hour batteries and a charger. $500. Was it a little steep? Yeah, it was. Was it worth it? It was worth it by the second job. It paid for itself. My back thanked me, my wallet thanked me, and it's just a damn cool looking tool. So like I've said before, does it meet it? It exceeds, but it most certainly meets the Toolman Tim seal of approval. Okay guys, that's it from me. You want to see more tool review videos? Hang around, hit the subscribe button, introduce yourself, join the Telegram group. And if you want a way to support me, the easiest way is to go by patchofthemonth.co. Go by there, sign up, $10 a month, $100 a year. You get a brand new morale patch every single month sent to you in the mail. All right guys, thanks again for dropping by the workshop. I always appreciate it. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.